Bruh, what is it with Islam Makhachev's luck when it comes to having fights not going through and then having to take these like last minute replacement opponents like on short notice? This is like not the first time a scenario like this has happened. If you haven't heard already, Arman Sarukian is out because he blew out his back, probably trying to impress Nina Drama when impressing Nina Drama goes wrong. Because y'all remember when he was kicking it with Nina and he stood on his head and was rotating his back around? Yeah, that probably put a lot of strain and stress on his back. So it's no surprise that his back got injured. I can't think of another way this guy could have hurt his back. A lot of people are saying it could be the weight cut. I highly doubt it. Or maybe this could have been like a lingering injury that was going on for a while and got worse, and Arman thought he could tough it out, but he couldn't. But either way, again, this has happened to Islam so many times, and he always seems to catch slack for that. Or not slack, he seems to catch a lot of flack when it comes to these situations. Like in 2021, he was supposed to fight Rafael Dos Anjos. Dos Anjos pulls out. Dan Hooker steps in on short notice. And then Islam doesn't get credit for the win because it's short notice. And at the time, Dan wasn't considered a high-level opponent. So it's like, okay, he beat Hooker, not a good win, and it was short notice. Even though the notice does not matter because, I mean, Hooker was never going to win that fight. That was a horrible matchup for Dan, short notice or full camp. That's a fight he was never going to beat Islam no matter what. And then early 2022, Makhachev is supposed to fight Beneil Dariush. Last minute, Beneil Dariush breaks his freaking leg or something happens. And then last minute, Islam is booked to fight Bobby Green on short notice. And he wins like he's expected to. He doesn't get credit because Bobby Green isn't a good quality of opponent and it was short notice. And now, oh yeah, and I can't forget, Oliveira pulled out, and then he fought Volk on short notice, but that was the pound-for-pound number one. Volk is good, but again, he doesn't get credit for the win because the first fight, controversial, and he only won the second fight because short notice, and Volk was out of shape, fat, drunk, and injured, which is kind of true. But now, something similar is probably going to happen tomorrow. He's going to go out there, and he's going to have an easy, free win and fourth title defense against Renato Moicano, and he's not going to get any credit. And Islam's going to get blame, and people are going to say that his legacy is overrated, even though he beat Volk and Volk again and Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier. People seem to care more about how he either struggles with his opponents or it was only short notice. Like, people always cope and move the goalposts with Islam. I'm so pissed off because I was so looking forward to seeing Arman Sarukian and Islam run it back at the highest level now, at the peak of both their careers. They fought once when both guys were green and on the come up. This would have been a better version of their 2019 fight. And now we don't get to see it for now, or who knows if ever. Like, who knows if Arman's going to get his title shot rescheduled now. Like, he did the UFC a disservice by pulling out last minute. I mean, Oliveira pulled out against Islam, and he didn't get his title shot rescheduled, and he had to go backwards and take another fight. He had to take the risk against Arman. So, I mean, if Arman has to do the same thing, I really don't think that would be unfair, because this does kind of put Oliveira in a tricky situation. What does Oliveira do? Because it was said he gets the winner of Arman and Islam, but what happens now? Do you delay Arman versus Islam too, and then Charles fights someone else? So I think what they should do is just give Oliveira the title shot after this. If Islam wins or when he wins, God forbid Moicano wins, because this is really going to hurt the division and the sport and Islam's legacy. But give Oliveira the title shot, and I say give Arman Sarukian, I don't know, Dustin Poirier, or the winner of Hooker versus Gaethje whenever whenever his back recovers. And then if he can beat those guys, he can get his title shot rebooked. But yeah, this really messes things up because Islam could have took this fight, had this fight gotten over with tomorrow night, and then he could have either moved up in his next fight with no obligation to fight any other number one contenders, although I did mention Oliveira. He could have moved on. This could have either opened the door for rematching Charles or fighting Ilya upon Ilya moving up. Now this kind of creates a complex situation, and the fight itself, Renato Moicano versus Islam Makhachev, I just don't see the appeal in this matchup. I know Moicano's on a good run, but what has this guy done? I mean, okay, he's beaten Jalen Turner, who walked off when he could have had a KO win, who shot himself in the foot, and Drew Dober, who could have won that fight, and it was a close decision too. And Moicano got messed up in that fight and could have lost if Dober had better IQ. Okay, he beat BSD, who had one eye, and literally won the second round against Moicano. Okay, I guess beating BSD is the best base for getting a title shot, because Dustin didn't got a title shot, but okay, he beat Riddell, who's not that good. Like, I don't think Moicano is proven enough. I think beating Beneil could have definitely helped. I know it's not Moicano's fault, but I really don't think that he belongs in there with Islam, and I just don't see how he beats Islam. Like, Renato Moicano's striking is okay. It's not as good as it used to be. It's not horrible. He's got a good 1-2. He's got some pop to his punches, decent hands, decent boxing fundamentals, good kicks, good flying knees, and, good Muay Thai, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But that's the best base of his game, is his Jiu-Jitsu. And in his last few fights, he's had the grappling advantage over his opponents. He's had the option of being the better grappler and being able to work his takedowns and ground game to either maul his opponents to a TKO or find a submission. He can't do that to Islam. Islam is the way superior grappler / wrestler. He can't win this fight by out-wrestling Islam, taking him down, subbing him, or ground and pounding him. He has to win this fight by being able to defend takedowns and outstrike Islam, but I don't even think he's the better striker than Islam. Islam is a way better striker. He's faster, more powerful, better boxing, better kicks. So Islam can literally win this fight any way he wants. He can knock him out on the feet, or he could take him down and sub him, or wrestle him to a decision. I'm willing to predict that Islam is going to hurt Moicano on the feet, then take him down, then sub him. Or I could see this fight ending similarly to how he beat Bobby Green. Like, take him down, back him out, ground and pound TKO, probably in the first or second round. But this feels like a lose-lose for Islam, because if he wins, he doesn't get credit for beating Moicano, who's ranked number 10 and on short notice. And then if he loses, people are going to crap on Islam for being overrated for losing to Moicano, and they're going to say he was never that good, and it's just going to look bad for the sport. The sport's going to lose all credibility if Islam cannot beat Renato Moicano, a guy he should be able to beat, a guy who doesn't belong in there with him. That would just be an embarrassment. And if Islam doesn't look that good or impressive while winning, he gets crapped on. And if he smokes Renato, people are going to say, well, it's just Renato Moicano, bro. I mean, it's not like Arman didn't pull out last minute. But yeah, for my money, this card, I don't know, Renato Moicano is money Moicano, but for my money, this card doesn't hit the same anymore. I know it's stacked, but it's the main event itself that kind of ruins it for me. I just don't feel that same level of excitement that I felt for Arman versus Islam. And now it just feels like Arman beat Charles Oliveira for nothing. Because I remember I wanted Oliveira to get his shot rescheduled when he pulled out. He didn't. And then he lost to Arman, and I was upset, but I was like, you know what, okay, Islam Arman 2 is still a good fight. I would settle for that if I can't get Oliveira getting his rematch. But now I don't even get Arman Sarukian getting to rematch Islam. Now, I hope at some stage I get to see Islam rematch either Oliveira or Arman or both. Or even if it's one or the other, I want to see Islam Makhachev in there with a top 2 contender again in the division. I would actually like to see Islam Arman 2. I'm curious to see how that would go. And even though I did pick Islam, there was less certainty behind that prediction, because it's like, okay, I think Islam will win, but Arman matches really, really well with him. And what if Arman Tsarukyan actually does pull the upset against Islam? There's a chance, and if he did pull it off, it wouldn't look that bad on Islam. And if Islam were to win, it would look really good on his resume. And speaking of Oliveira, who actually was trying to cut weight and get ready to make weight, Dana didn't call him because he's stupid. Why didn't the UFC have a backup in place and a top contender? Why did they not have Charles Oliveira, the second number one contender to Arman, stay ready as a backup? Because if they did, tomorrow night we could have seen Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2, which would have been a way bigger fight, a way more interesting fight. Yes, Islam would win again, especially on a day's notice, but at least Oliveira would have been prepared, having been training for either Arman or Islam and being on weight, having a good cut. And I think that would be a way bigger, more exciting matchup that I would be most looking forward to. But instead, now we got to settle for Islam versus Moicano. But whatever. We'll see what happens. I think Islam destroys him. He better not lose somehow. But let me know what you guys think in the comments.